Hello, and welcome everybody to this week's virtual film night. Today we have our very special guest, all the way from across the ponds in India. You want to give us your introduction of your name, who you are, and what you do?
Mhm. Hi all, I am Jijo. I'm from Kerala, the southernmost state of India, popularly known as God's own country, and we are known for lakes, palm trees, coconuts, and some handsome men, of course. Yeah, I'm here to have an interactive session with dear friend Derek Benton, and primarily regarding my film, Velipad, the Revelation, which has been selected to the Film Night 2025's August session, if I'm right. So that's it. And I'm basically an artist, photographer, and filmmaker. And I wish to interact with people and to know their feedback on how they took the movie. Especially the film is considering the fact that the film attempts to present some regional elements regarding same-sex desire across the intersection of Christian faith and the conflict the protagonist goes through as he has to choose between his faith or his identity. And that's it.
So, you mentioned you talked a little bit about the film and some of the things that it touched on. Tell us a little bit more about what inspired the film and what kind of motivated you to get it out there, make it.
Mhm. The primary inspiration have been my sincere thought to challenge the stereotypes pertaining to homosexual representation in mainstream literature and films. So, if you look into the mainstream representation regarding pure desire, not just regarding homosexual identity, but regarding the general gender identity, the diversity of gender identity and sexual orientation as such, we have a bunch of good representation which we can see. But again, majority of the representation have been done by cisgender heterosexual people. So what happens, I believe, is that the first person narratives becomes absent. So when I say about first person narratives, it's like black people speaking for themselves from based on their life experience or the feminism speaking, feminism being spoken by women. The same way, when we speak about queer identities, isn't it important that we should also listen to what queer people got to say, rather than the supporters who have learned to study it academically and represent it through mediums of films and literature. So even though there have been some good representation regarding the LGBTIQ identities from my state, as I said earlier, most of the representation have been done by people who have understood LGBTIQ lives, rather than the interpretations done by LGBT people themselves. And for the LGBT people, the primary survival concern is to live and to not choose to end their lives. So the question arises, do we have time and energy to create literature? Do we have the talent, or are we given the space to speak for ourselves? Or do we deserve recognition for the work we do? And I still live in a state where the recognition and reward for queer representation goes to the cisgender heterosexual community, because the popular literature people who have known for writing literature, who are from the literary background, who are from the academic background, they by default once in a while come up with queer representation. And I always had the challenge of asking myself, if I write a story, will it be considered as a story? If I write a script, it will be considered as a script to be made into a film. And somehow, over a period of time, I could garner the courage to do. So that is the primary inspiration. Secondly, if you can look into the introductory slide of the film, the names and photos of three persons are given. So those three are three of my game mates who suicide in the past 2 years, and they're just three among the many homosexual men. Again, among many other queer people who did suicide or who chose to end their lives owing to various forms of discrimination and bullying, or say queer phobia that exists in my state, even though my state is known for the progressive and liberal stand. So how we can address the mental health concerns of queer people? So when we speak about progress, is it only about the infrastructure development? Is it only about the so-called inclusion? Or is it also about ensuring inclusion? Or is it also about how how we measure happiness in daily lives? So if people are opting to end their lives because of lack of happiness, should we address that as a measurement of development? That's a question I always wanted to address. And if you closely observe, the film speaks about I think melancholy is the language of the film, if I would say, as recently one of my journalist friends say. The protagonist is always confused. He's sad, but at the end, the film ends with a note or say a song on hope, and I think hope leads to happiness. That I believe. So that is the primary inspiration. So that if somebody finds hope or happiness from my film, as a director, as a filmmaker, as a queer person, I feel accomplished, rather than the political possibility of addressing this.
It's so powerful because, like, when I remember when I first saw it, I was just like, such a timely film, but it was also very beautifully shot and very symbolic film. And so one of the first questions that came to my mind when I was looking at it was that is there any other like Easter eggs or symbolism that you wanted to convey or express, or is there like a shot that in the movie that you kind of like saw and you were like, okay, this is kind of the thesis of my film because there's so many different kind of like parts to it and so many different kind of things you touched on. I'm just curious. I'm sorry, I just wanted to like make sure everybody gets kind of an idea of like what you want to convey. Because really good film, very powerful piece.
Can you please repeat the question because your voice is slightly breaking down?
So I apologize. I was asking that was there any shot that stood out to you that made you realize, okay, this is the thesis of my film. Like this is the idea of the film.
The shot from the film.
Mm-hmm.
As I told earlier, right, the film also tries to attempt how we can narrate pure desire. So if you look into my state, the expression of desire, like anywhere in the world, have been mostly from the heteronormative point of lens. So say for example, if I'm a queer person, how I experience desire, how I express desire, and also if I have a relationship or romance, how I experience it or how I exchange it becomes important, right? So the three is expression, experience, and exchange. So these are the words I use in the common literature art sense. Say for example, if I'm attracted to a man, how will I tell that through a poem? Or how will I make that scene thing? Is it necessarily regarding the sexual context or just the kissing scene or just enjoying the presence of the person without being loud about it? All these are thoughts that comes to your mind when you write the script, right? Secondly, I believe that it's always from the immediate surroundings where you spend your time. Say, for example, if you are a teenager, you might have realized that if you're a queer person, not by listening to what Madonna has told, not by listening to understand what Ricky Martin has told about it, not by understanding that Lady Gaga has been supportive of LGBT rights. You somehow realized it by yourself, right? By feeling attracted to men, or if you're a queer person regarding terms of gender and sexual orientation, from your immediate surroundings, you understand it, right? So, for example, if a trans woman is coming out as a trans woman, how they experience it might be particular within their short room by wearing a dress they particularly want to, or by choosing the makeup they want to. So it's from the immediate surrounding they are experiencing and expressing it. The same way, the protagonist in the film is a seminary, and he is experiencing desire from his immediate surroundings or immediate persons he is spending time with. So the conscious attempt to portray the how to say the homosexual kind of version of the Last Supper is derived on this thing, right? Because he is seeing men of his type with beard who is in this moody of having food and all. And I also try to express the fantasy of food and fetish as well. So he is seeing men together there. So in his fantasy, he's believing that that question of whether it's a real thing or it's a fantasy is up to open for interpretation for the audience. But it's from his immediate surrounding he's experiencing it. For a priest person who is living in rural Kerala, it is not possible to know about all the LGBTQ related politics interventions and all. And he might not be even familiar with the terminologies of LGBTIQ as such, but he's experiencing it from the person he's interacting with. I think this is universally applicable to everyone. So that's one particular scene, and also the like as you have seen the film
I
has some
won't
reference
spoil
to.
too much because I want people to enjoy the film. I just want to give like an idea of like something that stood out to you. I don't want you to spoil too much. I want people to come in there and watch your film.
Again, no, there has been diverse response. Like, why should have challenged Christianity? Why should have placed this particular scene? But I believe in the freedom of expression. Like, if you want to criticize it, you criticize it. But as a filmmaker, because even though I'm an atheist right now, I belong to a Christian traditional background, and obviously the priesthood, and my family belong to this Jacobite Syrian congregation, which unlike the Catholic people, say for example, if you are a priest from the Jacobite Syrian community, you have the option to get married to women, and if you're a homosexual, it will be more conflicting factor for you. I mean, so recently I was speaking with a priest person who is married to a woman. So I asked him personally, like, what you felt after watching the film. And this priest person, who's a closeted homosexual person, was saying that he's forced to pretend to be a homophobic priest because in the church he cannot tell that he openly supports LGBT.
Mhm.
He's forced to pretend like a homophobic person. So how challenging it can be for someone like if he's from a faith background that's not supportive of the LGBT equalities. Of course, in the Indian context, for some of the Protestant churches, some of the liberal churches, like in the West, or as a emerging trend, more and more faith support groups are addressing the concerns pertaining to LGBT. How, say, for example, how the churches can be inclusive of LGBT lives, how the churches can address the issue of intersectionality, how the churches can address the issue of sexual health and LGBTQ, etc. But at the end of the day, if there is not open solidarity statement of welcoming everyone, like if church is a space, it should be inclusive of LGBTQ communities. So that can add conflict to the person who is representing the faith. That's the second thing I want to address in the film. As I told earlier, the intersection of faith and sexual orientation.
Yeah.
So if you ask how successful the representation has been, again, it's up to the audience to perceive it.
Yeah. Okay. I like love hearing you talk about your film. You're so well,
Mhm.
like you're so insightful. I love hearing you talk about your film. It's like,
Yeah, because a lot of pre-production work has been done. I mean, it took around 8 to 12 months to do the pre-production. And very interestingly, the script of the film, the first draft was done during 2019. And due to various reasons, it couldn't happen. Then the COVID came, so it was
right.
kept in shelf. Then I had, even though I have done some documentaries earlier, so I was always put in this box of self-doubt because
Oh,
we'll not be able to find a producer. And obviously, as you know, if you make a short film like this, you cannot put on YouTube immediately because it has to go to film festivals. And for the
right.
film festival, the basic rule is that for them to accept the film, it should not be made available in YouTube or any streaming
Mhm.
platforms.
Yeah.
And to send to film festival is very costly. And very fortunately, your film festival was kind of free or with low submission fee that made me submit to the festival. But otherwise, film festivals charge quite a lot to make the submission. So all these are the challenges I had, but somehow I could do the film.
Mm.
And I had a good team, and the team meetings were very good. We had a lot of pre-production work in terms of fixing the cinematography with the art team and the costume thing, the costume and the editing. And our film followed this theory of color palette. Look, we had a separate
I will
mood for
absolutely
each of them.
say, just real quick, I will
Mhm.
absolutely say, because we're short on time, that we are definitely have the point of us making this film festival and having that for people like you to have access to our platform to stream and to get to the next level to make it so that film and important artwork like yours is seen by people and screened in different places. So you have that accessibility, you have that kind of stepping stone to go to the next level. Because there's a lot of international films that get overlooked or not seen just because they don't have the money to get to film festivals and stuff. So that's something that we really were like adamant and passionate about and making sure we have this kind of platform, have that accessibility, especially if we're going into the international scene. So like people like you can and like can come in, not just people like you, but like people like all international walks of life, all people who all work can like just come in and be a part of this community because it's not just an American thing, it's not just a Bollywood thing, but it's a world thing. We all appreciate this art and we all express our struggles and our conflicts through this kind of medium. I just wanted to ask real quick before we pivot over, because we have to sort of time. Are you working on anything currently? Is there any projects that you're
Yes, the script for my second short film is ready. I'm searching for a producer. And if I don't get a producer, I have to go for crowdfunding. But the challenge with crowdfunding is that we have to ask the same set of people for donations again, which is a
what's the name of
Herculean
the film?
task. Mhm.
What's the name of the film? What's it about?
The name is yet to be finalized. Obviously, it's about a queer identity. And wait for it. I cannot tell more about it because
Okay.
it's the script is still to be logged with. We are having discussion with the producer, and if I
Yeah.
don't get a producer, then I have to think how we'll raise money. But definitely, hopefully by 2026 January, I will be doing the shooting part, and maybe for next year I can submit the film.
Yeah.
And with another 3 4 years, I plan to do a feature film. So it's a long journey because I didn't study filmmaking. It's
Wow.
just
Okay.
that I'm an artist and photographer. So like for me, uh, making a film was a way to learn making film. That I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah,
so it
you gotta
worked,
accomplish
and
those goals. You have to
it
like,
adds to your confidence that you could also do something.
and it's great. And so we all start our time. We have to get ready to go, but we have to ask you, how can we stay in touch with you, and how can we find you?
Yes, you're right.
Wait, so how can we find you on social media, or what's the best way to stay in touch and keep up to date with all your events and stuff, all your films and stuff?
I can send you that through email, like like my social media ID. I can send you that.
No, but
Is
you
it
gotta
fine?
say it out loud so our audience can hear, we can follow, we can have a link to it. So when we're editing, we're gonna like share it and everything.
I have to type it right now.
You don't have to type it. Just say what your Instagram is, or you have a handle.
Oh, my Instagram ID is Jijo Jessy Kuriakose. Like it's in the
Say
interview
it one
name,
more
Jijo
time
Jessy
again so we can
Kuriakose.
hear it clearly.
Eh?
Say it one more time so we can hear it clearly.
It's Jijo Jijo Jessy Jessy Kuriakose Kuriakose. I repeat, Jijo Jessy Kuriakose.
Awesome. Thank you. Just want to make sure we got.
And disclaimer, my Instagram page is 18 plus. It's full of homoerotic content. Not everyone may digest it. So I always play this because it's mostly about art and photography work I do. And yeah, the film is not publicly available as of now because it's still being sent to festivals. But you can see the updates about my films, winnings, festival selections like into your festival. Then something into I cook a lot, I make art, I do art and craft. So you can see some LGBT content as well in general regarding political discussions and all.
You heard it here, folks. If you want to see some risky art content, hit up to Jijo and keep him up to track on what he's going on with his films. Thank you guys so much, and thank you so much for making the time. I know everything was struggling with the monsoon and everything. I'm glad that you were able to make time, and I'm glad that you're able to honor us with your presence.
I was eagerly waiting to speak with you, Derek, and I felt acknowledged. I feel honored. And I would like to really know the audience response after the film screening. Feel free to share them.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for your time. Thank you for the opportunity. It really means a lot to have my film screened at your festival.
And once
And together we can make the world a better space. Solidarity for Palestine.
And once again, the film will be available on our website at the freestudios.com/film night, guys. So check it
Yes,
out
keep
there.
me updated. Sure.
And that'll be all. Guess have a good one. Oh,
Okay.
hold on, not yet. We're not clear.